Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Joe Coy, Marc Norman. These are just a few of the numerous comedians who have been selected to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival located in Saudi Arabia. This festival has been gaining a lot of traction on the internet with a variety of publications covering it, as well as several notable comedians calling out the other comedians who are participating in it, such as Marc, Maron, and Shane Gillis. We also saw Tim Dillon join the festival, but his position would shortly be terminated after making several comments about their use of slaves on his podcast. If we're being honest though, Tim's probably better off staying out of Saudi Arabia anyway, because I'm pretty sure in that country, gay people get thrown off of buildings. Anyway, that's not the point though. The point is this comedy festival is incredibly controversial, and today we're going to dive into all the big reasons that so many people have a problem with it. So if that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it. To begin with, let's address the elephant in the room of Saudi Arabia being that they don't have free speech at all. In fact, speaking your mind in Saudi Arabia could have severe consequences. You would think that a guy like Dave Chappelle, who has complained about cancel culture many times before, would not be willing to do comedy for a bunch of people who actively engage in censoring the citizens of their own country. Also, Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million to do what he felt was right for him while he was on Comedy Central, but now he's taking just a couple $1,000,000 to perform for people who routinely take part in public executions and do not allow the press and media to operate freely. I know this is a Muslim country and Dave Chappelle is a devout Muslim, but for some people, this is a lot to look past, and I understand where they're coming from when they're upset with him. Not to mention some of the other comedians on this list to perform are people who had Donald Trump on their podcast, and that's a bit of a strange move. Comedian Gianmarco Soresi had this hilarious tweet where he says, if you do the Riyadh Comedy Festival and don't tell a joke that gets you imprisoned by the monarchy, then what was even the point of having Trump on your podcast? Which is just fucking hysterical. He also had this clip on Instagram where he joked about Louis C.K.
There's a line of like people who have so much money that I'm like, this is embarrassing that you're doing this.
Yeah.
I will say, you can judge me all you want for this. This is the most disappointing thing Louis C.K. has ever done. The irony is probably while he's in Saudi Arabia, this is probably the best behaved he'll ever be in a green room in his entire life. Do I think there'd be something that I would admire if someone took the money and fucking like went to town? If Gabriel Iglesias suddenly said, you know what, I'm taking a hard right into politics. He said, try to behead this big head. Let's see if you can find a sword sharp enough. You can't decapitate Fluffy.
I laughed my ass off at this. Great points from Gianmarco. Aside from all that, there's so many questions people have about this festival. I personally have been wondering if Whitney Cummings and Jessica Kirson will be forced to wear a burqa when they go on stage. Alright, I'll stop. Jesus. There's a lot of questions people have about the festival though, like will there be limitations on what they can or cannot joke about at the shows? And the answer to this is more than likely yes. My hypothesis is based on the fact that Tim Dillon was originally selected to be part of the comedy festival, and Tim has made it very clear in the past that the money was a big motivator for him. However, Tim was removed for talking about the slavery taking place in Saudi Arabia in a very tongue-in-cheek way like he often does on his show.
I was fired from the Riyadh Comedy Festival. I'll tell you how it went down. I was supposed to perform in Dubai. I mixed up Dubai and I said Abu Dhabi. Apparently this is a big deal over there. This is like a real problem. My agent called me and he goes, you said on Joe Rogan that you were performing in Abu Dhabi and you're actually performing in Dubai. They're cities and they have a rivalry. And I go, dude, who gives a fuck? What do I stop? I made a mistake. This is not a malicious slander. It's a mistake. He goes, well, they're very angry and they sent an email that you need to be controlled. But he called me and he said, they heard what you said about them having slaves. And I said, I was being positive about it. I was defending them. He goes, well, I know that. I know you were defending them. I said, I was defending them for having slaves. I literally said, slaves are probably hard workers and for the most part agreeable, but they didn't like that. You can literally support somebody too much. I've learned this. You can actually, by the way, in life, this happens.
Tim also made this post on his Instagram when Jimmy Kimmel initially lost his show, and at the bottom half of the message, he details his firing from the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Tim also detailed the pay breakdown for some of the different comedians going and how some of them were offered over 7 figures.
You're coming out and saying you're doing the Saudi thing for money. They're paying you a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you how much they're paying me. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much they're paying me $375,000 for one show. Now, a lot of other people are getting $1.6 million. That's not me. I'm not in that bracket. But they're giving me $375. Others are getting $150. Why are they doing it?
As I said earlier, the Saudis tend to not treat gay people with the utmost respect, so for Tim's safety, I'm glad he's no longer participating in the festival. We also heard a few comedians who received an offer but rejected it, like Shane Gillis, who discussed this on a recent episode of his podcast.
They were asking me to go to the Middle East soon.
What? Where? Why?
Saudi Arabia and UAE or Dubai.
Dubai?
I think I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. For the troops? Is it for the troops?
Not for the troops.
What?
It's for the Saudis.
For the Saudi princes?
Yeah, and everyone's like, yeah, you should do it. Everyone's doing it. It's like, for Saudis?
Yeah.
Weren't those the 9/11 guys?
So I thought.
Aren't they exactly the 9/11 guys?
It was Iran, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's all been Iran this whole time.
If you had told me Bill Burr would be performing in this festival and Shane Gillis would be the one to reject the offer out of principle, I would have called you a liar. But it's really nice to see Shane do what he felt was right in the situation, even after the Saudi government doubled their initial 7-figure offer trying to get Shane to bite. Furthermore, a lot of people are understandably upset with Bill Burr over his decision to participate in the festival, given the opinions he has spoken about freely in the past. There's even a clip of him trashing people who take money from the Saudi government that I found out about because of this great video from American Redact where he brought this to light. Shout out to Redact, and I'll show you the clip in question just in case you haven't seen it for yourself.
Because no one ever raises money for terrorists, right? I guess, unless you do a comedy show in like Saudi Arabia. Isn't that what they do? You know, that's how they raise money with their filthy fucking oil money.
That's why this made some people upset with Bill Burr's decision to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. On top of all of this, we also heard Marc Maron go off once again on comedians who were participating in the Riyadh Comedy Festival and the absurdity surrounding it all.
Well, there's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity when no one's offering to buy it out, you know.
There was also a clip of actor Zach Woods from The Office talking about this, and this clip went super viral and has been covered by CNN and others at this point.
Guys, it's that special time of year. It's the Riyadh Comedy Festival. And all of your favorite comedians are performing at the pleasure of Turki Al-Sheikh, and he is the head of the entertainment authority over there, and he has so many people thrown in prison because they tweeted stuff he didn't like about the soccer team or whatever, that there's a wing of a prison nicknamed after him where they hang people by their heels from the ceiling.
It also gets crazier when you find out that Pete Davidson is performing in this festival, which, if you don't know, Pete's dad tragically died in 9/11 as a firefighter, and now he is performing in a country that played a huge role in the event that killed his father. How badly does Pete need the money for that? That's what I'm wondering. This is ultimately the biggest point of contention for a lot of comedy fans, is that the money the comedians are being paid is some of the bloodiest money you could possibly get your hands on. From what Shane Gillis and Tim Dillon said, we know some of these comedians are being offered millions and millions of dollars, but then some of them are just making a 6-figure sum that they could easily make in a couple months of touring with the right marketing strategy. Now, I will defend them just a little bit. We all like to think that we know what we would do if an offer like this was given to us, that we would all do the right thing if we got the offer that Shane Gillis got from these people, but a fair amount of us would probably fold if they really showed us the money. I've seen some people say that George Carlin is somebody who is principled enough and would have never taken an offer like this, but we really don't know that for sure. I mean, think about it. George Carlin worked a lot in his final years alive only because he owed the IRS a tremendous amount of money for tax evasion. So it's conceivable to think that if he was offered a deal like this, he might have taken it. I say all this to say, if you look close enough, pretty much everybody has their points of hypocrisy and their price point. Of course, some people are greater hypocrites than others and claim that they are not. However, even with all that being said, when these people made their decision to participate in this, they had to know there would be a lot of people criticizing them. They're the ones who have to rest their head on the pillow at night, so just hope that they find peace in their decisions. All of this this and more is why the Riyadh Comedy Festival is so controversial and why I've deemed it potentially the most controversial festival in comedy history, which is why people are criticizing the comedians participating in it ruthlessly. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and if you want more content, here's a video I made about how Joe Rogan's migration to Austin, Texas led to the city becoming a nuclear roast zone for comedians. A lot of people enjoyed this video, and I bet you will too, so please click the link on the screen to watch that one next. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless.